Snack has played a huge part in my training camp. The protein, the ZMA, everything, the pre-workout, it's played such a major part in my training camp, keeping me healthy, keeping me recovered, keeping me feeling good, strong, and ready for my next workout.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Marcos Villegas, being joined with the IBF super middleweight champion of the world, the undefeated Caleb Plant. Caleb, man, fight over the weekend, obviously. Vested interest, Canelo Alvarez stopping Billy Joe Saunders. What'd you make of the fight, and how'd you see the fight play out in your opinion?
I mean, Canelo, he got the win. The first round I felt like Billy won, more so because Canelo wasn't, doing too much just off activity. I felt like Billy won. And Canelo started to take over. But then in those latter rounds, I felt like Billy really started to settle in and almost kind of find his rhythm. And it almost went from, Canelo dictating the pace and kind of dictating what was happening to it looked like, Billy started dictating the pace and kind of dictating what was happening. So.
Did you feel that Billy was winning the fight? Did you think it was a lot closer than what the cards had it?
Maybe a little bit closer, but I don't think he was winning. No.
How'd you have it?
I off the top of my head, I don't really remember, but when did he get stopped in the what?
The eighth round.
The eighth round. I mean, he may have had like 3 of those rounds.
Yeah, that was close to mine.
3 rounds.
Yeah, I had it 5-3 by the time of the stoppage, but a lot of people felt that his jabs should have been given more credit in some of those rounds to win those rounds.
Yeah, but also with the right hand and the southpaw, for the most part, the jab's not going to be as as relevant. So, but yeah, he was landing some nice jabs.
What'd you make overall of Canelo's approach to that style, and then the way Saunders fight and the fight, well, like game plan wise?
Again, I felt like Billy came out and was more active in the first round, and then in those latter part of the rounds, he started to dictate, and but he ran into a shot, and that's what anybody can run into a big shot, and that was it. So.
Yeah, the thing with Canelo, I think with like a lot of the opponents is the power, and he's able to back these guys up, and for like parts of the fight, they're just trying to avoid getting hit by Canelo because of his power.
Yeah. I mean, I've yet to be in there with him. So from the outside, a lot of these guys, some of their boxing ability isn't the best either. So
it's almost too, I've heard other trainers say this is like there's a sort of, they say fear that they fear Canelo, but not in the way like they're scared to fight him, but they fear of like how a fight could end up playing out if they do anything cute or stay in there with him in the pocket for too long.
Well, you might have lost that fight for you already stepped in there then, if that's your mindset and your mentality, going into something like that. You can't play to not lose. You know what I'm saying? You got to play to win. And I feel like a lot of these guys, they get in there and they're not playing to win, they're playing to not lose. And when you're playing like that, it's just a matter of time, so.
No, obviously with the interviews that I've done with you, you don't share that mentality. You've been saying for not even the past year. I remember when I first brought up the potential for this fight to you maybe 2.5 years ago, you told me back then, like, hey, I can win this fight. I see myself fighting Canelo. Before we speak on that, I know Saunders got a lot of flack by the way the fight was stopped because of the comments that he said about Daniel Dubois, about the orbital bone. Just give me your insight as a fighter, someone who does take punches for a living, about what the fans are saying about that.
I don't know about taking punches like that.
You don't take a lot of punches like that, but you do take punches for a living. You're a professional boxer, though. Not a lot of people are able to hit you clean.
Yeah, I mean, I never had my orbital bone broke, so it'd be that's something. Me personally, I'm not going to speak on that too much because I haven't had it broke. I don't know what it's like to be in that position, so I don't know. So,
do you think the heat that he's getting is fair given the comments, or do you think people need to chill with that? Because at the end of the day, like, to me personally, I don't think a fight is worth someone losing their eye over.
I mean, it'd be more acceptable for you to say that and for you to feel that way, though. You know what I'm saying? Because no knock against you, because you do the sport a lot of good, but because you don't fight, your mentality is going to be slightly different. And even a lot of other fighters would feel like you and think like you, but there are a select few who may disagree with that and feel like that it's not worth it. And I feel like that I'm one of those guys and one of those
Mm.
select. And so, um, as far as him catching flack or being called a quitter from other people who don't know what it's like to feed their families with their hands, that's too much. You can't say that because you don't know what it's like to step between those ropes. Now, if he's catching flack because he gave Daniel what's his name shit, and then it turned around and happened to him, and now he's like, you know what I'm saying? That makes a little more sense. It's like, hey, you was giving this guy shit, but you did the same thing. So don't speak on something if you're not willing to, you know what I'm saying? But that's really all, that's as much as I can speak on that because, I've never had that happen to me.
No, it's an important thing for someone like you to speak on, because obviously, fans, we could judge and say things from the outside, but you're a guy that lives and breathes this, so I think your insight is a lot more knowledgeable, more insightful in situations like that.
A lot more validated as well. So, as far as, if people want to give him shit because he gave Daniel a hard time, then he deserves that. You feel what I'm saying? That or is it that's at least a reasonable response to what happened to him. But as far as people calling him a quitter or anything like that, when you can never do, you know, you couldn't even do what he did, much less what I can do. So that would be too much.
Yeah, I understand where the comments are coming from, but like I mentioned, at the end of the day, like to me at least, because you said, you see it differently because you do have that mentality. It's, you got to live with the consequences of that for the rest of your life. We're not there paying your medical bills. We're not there to, seeing you with an eye patch for the rest of your life and all that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've even heard rumors that he didn't want it to stop and his corner pulled the plug. But again, as far as fans calling him quitters, out of how many of those fans who watch boxing, when's the last time one of them fans reached out to Gerald McClellan and checked in on him? You know what I'm saying? How many?
Yeah, no,
None.
none. Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to if you want to give him a friendly reminder of what he said to Daniel, he probably deserves that shit. But anything other than that, it's out of their league.
Speaking of this fight, Caleb, I know you did an interview a few days ago where you felt that the comparisons between you and Saunders are completely wrong. Obviously you're not a southpaw, and I feel that even though you are defensive, you're slick and you can box and you can punch also as well. You're a different fighter than Saunders. What do you make of people saying that, similarly, like style wise, you and Saunders are the same, and that fight could play out similarly?
Uh, just ignorance. You know what I'm saying? In the famous words of the Black Mamba,
Roger.
boxing. And from the outside, a lot of people these days they're casual fans, and casual fans tune into boxing or show up to boxing events for two things, and that's the event and the knockout. And anything deeper than that, they're probably not going to be able to grasp. At least not too much. So, again, as far as comparing me to Billy Joe Saunders in a list of ways is just disrespectful. Our dedication to the sport. I mean, I even heard him in an interview. It might have been with Michelle Joy Phelps or somebody. I can't remember. He even said, a lot of people say that outside of training camp, I don't live right, or maybe I don't train the best, but I'm here now. But you would never hear me say that because that's not how, that's him and how he handles his business and what he wants to do. And, but that's not how I handle my business. Anybody who knows me knows that I stay in shape. They know that I keep my weight in check. They know I live a disciplined life. Billy Joe Saunders, he's quick, but he's not explosive. I punch harder than him. I'm bigger than him. I'm taller than him. My reach is longer than his. My footwork's better than his. And I just, there's a whole list of reasons. And I could go on and on of reasons why we're not the same fighter.
When you looked at Canelo's performances, did you see anything that striked you that you went like, okay, like I know exactly what to do here. Like, okay, he's not going to be able to do this to me. Like, did you notice those types of things?
Here and there, but one fight doesn't change your whole mentality on or my perception of him. You know what I'm saying? This has been, a long time coming where I felt like there's just things that I hold over him that he can't, when it comes down to it, that he just can't fuck with me.
What are those things, if you can be in specific, not giving away, game plan wise, but what do you feel inside that he can't touch on you?
When that fight gets signed, Marcos, you just have to tune in and you'll see.
Keeping it close to the chest. I know, this is a fight that you've wanted for a very long time, Caleb. Um, are we going to see it?
That's what we want. That's what he wants. That's what I want. And so, you know, I got a great team behind me. They've done a perfect job with me thus far. I became a world champion with 17 fights. I feel like I'm one of the biggest stars in boxing. I mean, my last fight got 2 million views. That's more than any other fighter since 2019, I think they said. So, I mean, I'm in a great spot. This is a fight that I want, and this is a fight that he wants. And there's only one way. He wants to become undisputed. I want to become undisputed. That's the only one way to make it happen.
What is there to do in order for the fight to happen? Like, what has to happen in order that it does happen?
I'm not sure. I don't know all the details. There's a lot of things and a lot of details that go into making a mega fight, and I don't know all those things because that's not my job. My job is to fight, and thus far, anytime that they've put anybody in front of me or wanted me to fight somebody, I fought them and I've come out victorious. So this is a fight that I want. I want to make it happen. The fans want it to happen. He wants it to happen. So it's a fight that should happen.
I asked that because in boxing, there's so many instances where the fights that we want don't end up happening because of some little thing or the other. And I guess there is kind of like in every boxing fan, a little worry that something could come up that stops this fight from happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, those things happen. No disrespect, but I know you didn't ask me a question right there. So the only thing I can do with you is agree.
Mhm.
But
Well, I got my fingers crossed.
and this is a fight that I want. I want to become undisputed. I've been saying that for a long time, and this is a fight that I want and a fight that I know in my heart that I can win. And you know, he's got a great team around him. Obviously, I've got a great team around me. No, there's nobody better than Al Heyman, and there's not a better manager than Luis de Cuba. So, um, this is a fight that can happen and that should happen. And all we got to do is sit back and let our teams do their jobs. His team does that job for him. My team does that job for me, and I'm sure we can make it happen.
I know Canelo is a free agent right now, but obviously, DAZN's going to want to keep him. PBC is going to, offer him something as well to bring him over. Are you opposed to fighting on DAZN, or is it something where like, no, this fight has to happen on like a Fox Showtime type of thing?
Well, I feel like not fighting on pay-per-view would leave millions and millions on the table for not just myself, because I'm not just thinking selfishly, but if we're being realistic, it would be leave millions on the table for both of us. So, I mean, it would make most sense to fight on pay-per-view, not only for myself but for him as well. And if he's a free agent and he's able to move around as he pleases, like a lot of people are saying, then it would be in his best interest too. But again, that's not my job. I don't want to speak out of my boundaries. I got a great team around me, and again, he's got a great team around him, and so.
Could you at least let us know if there's been any talks already, preliminary talks to make it happen?
I think our teams, here real soon are going to try and sit down and see if we can get it worked out and figured out. Because again, I don't know how much I can stress this, that this is a fight that not only that I want, but I know in my heart that I can win. And any other time that I've told you, Marcos, any other time that I've looked at you and told you that I know in my heart that I can get this done and that I will get it done. You know, now have I fought someone with the accolades that he has? No, but I'm getting better and better and better. And when I did that against Jose, I'm a night and day difference in the fighter that I am. They say after you win a world title, a fighter gets, 20, 30% better. I've gotten so much better since that fight. And again, there's a list of things that Canelo cannot do better than me.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few fans that they'll bring up, your past opposition. And I was kind of curious if you felt disrespected by that when they bring that up.
I mean, with 21 fights, I'm not sure how far along I could be in that department. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anybody else with 21 fights doing what I'm doing. Even fighters that are way ahead of me now, they weren't doing what I'm doing with 21 fights. They didn't step up with 17 fights to fight for a world title and be a heavy underdog. They weren't doing that at 21 fights. So with only 21 fights, I can only do so much. But if you look at my resume, I've lost maybe 4 rounds in my whole boxing career. So for people to be able to feel like that they can judge me and rank me on how good I am when I've only lost four rounds in my whole entire career, you can't gauge me on how good I am or where I'm at or what can really be brought out of me.
Caleb, when this moment comes for you, what do you think it's going to mean for you to get something like this and to go through the experience? Because, you know, you're looking at Canelo, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And this is a guy that you're fighting that you could look back years and years from now and be like, you know, I fought against this guy, this Hall of Fame person in Canelo.
I'll just say this: boxing has been my whole life. I've studied this sport inside and out. I've given my whole life to the sport. And boxing is my whole life. And at the end of the day, life is all you have. This is everything to me. And I'm sure we can get it done. And it'll be a great win under my belt.
I got to know, have you envisioned it in your mind, the fight, and envision, you know, the announcer saying a new super middleweight champion? And if you have, I guess, put me through like the thoughts and the emotions when you envision it in your mind.
I've seen this movie 100 times. I've seen this movie 100 times. I mean, I've been envisioning this my whole life. And, every fight that's ever got signed, that's all I do from now till, I mean, even with the Jose fight, I had the belt taped above my bed for months and months, and the first thing I see and the last thing I see before I go to sleep was that belt over my wall. And, you know, I've envisioned my way here, not just envisioned, but I've worked my way here. But I have manifested this, and that's something I'm gonna continue to do throughout my career.
Man, I can't wait for this fight. I'm stoked. These fights are rare, and I think just the atmosphere, the buildup to this is going to be electric. I can't wait.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime I've ever been put under the gun, not only in boxing but in life, I've always rose to the occasion, and I've always performed best when it was time to step to the plate. And, nothing's gonna change.
That was Caleb Plant, the undefeated super middleweight champion of the world. We're hoping for a September matchup with him and Canelo Alvarez for the right to be called the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. Caleb Plant, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.